So today we are going to start about SQLite database. That is something truly important, and not only important, but that is actually most of your applications what we have at the Android, they normally contain the databases. So it is important to understand that actually how we can handle the database with our applications. As you know, that in Android applications, we normally handle the database using the different formats. One of them is the SQLite database. What we mean by the different formats, normally you can see that we are using different formats. One of them is known as the key pair values. Other one is known as SQLite database. Other one is known MySQL database. Other one is known as the network-based database, and so on. But most oftenly, we are using the SQLite database. Question is why? And another question is, what are the other types of the database? How they are different from this one? And why most of the applications they use the SQLite database? This lecture is very important to understand and have the answers for these all of the questions and queries, and then we will be able to understand its importance, and we can start working for the SQLite database. In our module, we will be using the SQLite database. If time permits, then probably we can go for the external databases as well, network databases as well, other databases as well, but not sure because those are not a part of our MIB as well. But I will try at the end, will give you a brief about those databases as well, that how we can use them. Our focus will be on SQLite database. Now you remember that I mentioned one of the things that is the key pair values. That key pair values data storage is also known as the preferences, shared preferences. What is that? That is actually the temporary storage of the values for any specific information, and that stores and remains inside the user profile. What it mean? That mean actually, say for example, if you are using some sort of application, then you are trying to set that what should be its color, what should be its font size, what should be its font type, how your application may have appearance, and the other values that each user can customize, can select, and can adjust according to his need. So where those values are stored? Those values are stored, that information is stored inside the app, but inside that particular user only. And those values retain there until and unless the user profile is alive or active. The moment that user profile is expired, deleted, or updated, so the values will be also gone. So you can understand that what is the scope of those values. That is known as the shared preferences, and that is the one of the type of storing the data values in our apps. I hope you understand. Now, as we name for the other, which is MySQL, not SQLite, because we will come to the SQLite, will be at the end. Now, in MySQL, actually, where we used to handle the different apps which has the proper databases, and they have their web-based versions as well. Beside of that, we also use the mobile applications. I can give you one example for your easy understanding. For example, if you are using a bank account, so you can access your bank account using the web-based application. You're using your bank account by providing your ID and password through the web, through the client server model, and then you are able to access your account. You can see your transactions. You can transfer the money, whatever the things you are allowed as a user, you can do easily using the web interface. Now you notice that most of the financial institutes or banks, they provide you Android applications as well. So what happened that when you are going to log in and you can be able to access your same account, same details, and same information. How this is being handled? This is being handled using the MySQL database. That is the second part. Normally what we are using with the web interfaces. We can convert any of the website into our Android application as well. In our last weeks, we'll show you that how we can convert the existing websites into the mobile applications as well. I've tried to come up with the solution with how we can handle this with the MySQL. That is the another type of database in Android. Now another type, the third type is about network databases, where we can access any sort of databases, like suppose Oracle, SQL Server, or whatever the other applications we are using. Another part, another type is about where we can go and use the different values. We can fetch the different values from the different databases, only some certain values, not to go for the whole databases, but we just go to use the XML to fetch the selected values from the main databases to make them as a part of our application or our app in Android. What it is, how we understand from this? Very simple. As you notice, whenever you are using your cell phone, so it is easy for us, it's simple for us that we can see what is the temperature now. What is the weather temperature now? Based on our location, it can show us what is the temperature right at the moment. Based on that, you can see that what is the financial values or any interested values for us. So you can find that suppose in case if we are having a value which is only the weather, the current temperature, only for our customized location, our application is taking. So what do you think? That our application is handling the same, this information is in our database? No, that information is taking from the main weather database. And any application or any app can be taking only the customized value as per the location for that particular part. So you can understand that we can fetch the information from a huge database whenever we require, and we can make that part of our application. So why I'm telling you all these things? Because it's very important to understand the concepts that how your mobile applications are working and how different types of the databases we are handling, and how in the different mobile applications where we have the different values or information, so how these are being handled at the background. At the end of the day, once you will be done with this one, don't you consider that you will become an expert about the Android, but you can consider that you can have a very right and good start about Android, and you can dive in more and you can become an expert about that. It's very easy and very simple, like what you did in your previous weeks as well. Now the last type, it is actually not the last, but we keep in a sequence as the last because this is the one what we are going to cover in our today's lecture and in our next week lecture as well. Most importantly, for today's lecture to understand about its core concepts, about its additional classes, about its additional methods, about its additional requirements, to understand about the SQLite database and use them hands-on today as well in the next class. In the next class, we will be handling with a wider scope. But in today's class, we will handle it to understand the concept that how these things are working. So you can see that this is the part number one. Now in SQLite, that is the most commonly used database in the Android applications. Why it is most commonly used? What are the different characteristics? What are the properties for SQLite database? Yes, it is important because this is the flat file system. It does not require any installation. It does not require any additional thing, but it is a part of your default part of your Android system. So you will not require anything to configure or install for the SQLite, but the API support is already there. You can use that and you can create your databases. And most of the applications, they are using SQLite database, not for that reason that it is free, not for that reason that it is by default available, not for that reason that it is the file system, flat file system, but the reason is that it is lightweight, very lightweight. As you know, that our cell phones, our gadgets, they have the constraints of energy, computation, and other resources. So this is the best suitable option for that. So that's why we can see that this is okay. That's why we can see that this is the most important option or the part what we are using, that is the SQLite. So now I hope you understand that how many different types of the databases we are using with the Android, including the shared preferences, including the server base, including the SQL, including the network base, and also for the SQLite database. So our focus will be on SQLite database. So we will understand that what are their dependencies, what are their additional classes which we are supposed to use in the first part, and then in the second part we will go accordingly like we do always, hands-on to write an application, to have a demo, to see that how we can use that one. So now after having a brief intro about the database and the different database types in Android, we are going to start about SQLite. So we are choosing about the SQLite, which is the part of our module. Here we go. As we discussed that why we are going to choose the SQLite, because we know that there are so many good features. There are so many additional characteristics. As we discussed that it is simple and it's a file-based system. No need for any additional configuration, and it is lightweight, the most importantly. So that's why we will be using SQLite. And also most of the applications for the Android, they use the SQLite. So its basic property, our basic characteristics, our basic quality, that it is the lightweight database. You are not to be worried about your resources. It will not require a lot of resources, or it will provide you the guarantee that your app will not be lagging or in hanging position. So you can see from here that SQLite is an open source, lightweight, free of cost, okay, and it does not require any database administration as well. It's simple, it's free, it's powerful, it's lightweight, it's efficient. So this is the reason that most of the amount of the apps, if we survey, they are using SQLite. So that's why it is the better and the excellent choice for the developers. So today that is our choice also, that we will go to use the SQLite. And its code is actually based on the C programming language. And I hope that you are aware about SQL. So SQL is stand for the structured query. But here we call this as SQLite. So this is a structured query. It means the syntax will be used the same what the syntax we use for the SQL, MySQL, okay, our SQL server, because that is SQL is represent to the SQL represent to the code, the part that how we will be using that, and then how how we will be using that. That is the means file-based system. We will not require any installation, but with the help of the API. But there are the additional things what they require. They are known as the SQL Open Helper, SQL Database Class, Cursor, and what these things are, why we require them. So we will need to understand the whole concept about that, as you can be able while we will start writing the code, so you can be able to understand it, how these things are working. So keep remember that we don't require any server for this database like for the other databases. We don't require installation, we don't require any server, we don't require any administration, we don't require any other aspects. They could be required later. Just 1 minute, please. Just 1 minute. Hello. Yeah, sure. Because we just, yeah, you're welcome. Yeah, guys, sorry for the interruption. So we start again. Okay. Yeah. So we start again. So I hope that now you are understand that why we are using the SQLite, because of so many reasons, not the one reason. The most importantly reason is that the SQLite is actually very lightweight. SQLite does not require any administration. SQLite does not require a lot of storage. SQLite does not require any installation. SQLite is free of cost, and SQLite follow the C programming standards, and SQLite syntax is the same structure query syntax that what we are using for the other databases as well. And now I hope that you are pretty clear about the different types of the databases that what we support or what we use with the Android. We can just rename it quickly for your understanding, including the means shared preferences, including the SQL Server, including the network databases, and including to your SQLite database. So going ahead, because our focus is on SQLite database. Now you can see from here that we don't require any configuration. It requires configuration. What it means that while you are going to use like what we will use today. So in this, we will not require to install anything additional. We will not require any client server model. We will not require means anything where we have to have some additional dependency. But it is simple and easy. There is no client server based model for this one. SQLite is the part of your application. It's a flat file system. So when you run your application, so this will be considered as a part of your application. It will not be considered as the separate thing which is means required the configuration, or which require the server side, or which require anything else. Okay, so this is the means most important features and things which are required to the SQLite database. Now, if suppose this is very simple, if suppose this is very lightweight, if suppose this is all the features what we discussed, then maybe there is a doubt in our mind that how it will be efficient. Okay, so you need to know, this is the most important point, is that beside of those all of the features, this is truly important, and this has all of the capabilities like what we require to have for any of the Android application. So it provides us a complete relational model. It provides us the complete support what we can use, what it is required for the database for any of the Android application, and it is embedded with our mobile database and with our particular mobile app what we are using to run. So features are more enough, and also on the other side it is light as well. That's why we call it lightweight. That's why we call it SQLite. So this is specifically designed for the Android applications for those devices which has limitation of resources. So in upcoming slides, you will see that in what applications we are using SQLite database. Then you will be aware that why this database is required, because we cannot use the client server model all the time for all of the applications. We can use as we coded the example for the banking application, that we are having the banking application which has the web-based interfaces, and also we have the versions for the mobile app. Yes, we can, but that will be handled by the SQL, not by the SQLite. So you need to understand, first of all, you need to understand the difference between the SQLite, SQL Server, Oracle, and other things. So this is the most important point about that. Now, as we discussed, that this is the simple API that is inside your code. You are not required to do anything extra, but then you are required to just call that API. You are required to use the additional methods. You are required to call the additional classes. If you remember, as we discussed, what those classes are the OpenDB helper. Those classes are SQLite database. Those classes are the cursor. And what are the methods? So those methods are, say for example, in cursor, so we can say that move first, move next, move last, move means, and move end. So these all are the methods that what we require. And these all are the classes which help us to create the databases inside our app, and we can call them inside our main activity Java, and then we will be able to use that one. That what you will see the demo, the hands-on today, that what we will go for after understanding the concept about this SQLite. Now the further characteristics are, as we discussed, that SQLite is not comparable. You cannot compare it with the client-server SQL database. You cannot compare it with MySQL. You cannot compare it with the Oracle or any other type of the database. This is specifically designed for the mobile applications only. This is the lighter version. So this has a limitation. This cannot be compared. This cannot have the same capabilities like what we have with the SQL, what we have with the MySQL, what we have with other standard databases. Because this is the smaller, this is the lighter version, which is designed for the mobile applications only. But it doesn't mean that it is the lighter version or it is the smaller version, but it is designed for the mobile applications. So it will not fulfill our requirement. No, it fulfill our complete requirement. More than 60 to 70% of your mobile applications or mobile apps, they are using the SQLite database. Only the 30% of the applications, they are using the SQL, they are using the external, they are using the network-based database, as we discussed. They say, for example, we have our apps. We can see that right now, what is the temperature outside. So you can see that we are fetching value from the external information, from the external database. The external database of the weather, where it has the whole information about the weather for all the cities, for all the areas, for all the countries. So we are just fetching the value which it is required based on our own location. So you need to understand the difference among them. So please be clear about that, okay? That this is something specifically which is designed for the mobile applications. Now, what are the applications? Like suppose we are discussing since a couple of minutes, and we are praising that this is the SQLite, this is light, and so many things. But until and unless we will not knowing that what are the different applications, maybe we will not be able to understand wisely that where it is being used. And maybe then we will not be able to understand it, how we are using and why we are using that one. So there are so many applications. What we are using, so many applications you already installed, configured in your cell phone. You are using right at the moment, but you are not knowing, okay? But these all applications, they are using your SQLite. An example of this, in your contacts and calendar of your phones, they are also using the same thing, Your contact list is using SQLite. Okay, your calendar is using your SQLite database. And there are a lot of different scenarios, a lot of different things what we are using in our cell phone. So do remember, as we said, that more than up to 70% of the applications, they belongs to SQLite, because this database is specifically designed for the for the Android applications. Okay, going ahead. So you can see from the more applications, so we try to name them as you can be able to understand it well. As we can see that because of the SQLite database required no administration, we doesn't require administration, doesn't require any installation, doesn't require any client server model. Okay, and it can be part of your application. That will be means handle as a part, and it has a full-fledged privileges to your application. No one other application has a rights to that particular database. So you can see that where we are using. So the few of the examples we provide here, we are using in cell phones, we are using in the televisions, we're using in the different games consoles, we're using for your cameras, where we are storing your pictures, we're using in the smart watches, we are using in automobiles, we're using in aeroplanes, we're using in the kitchens, we're using in the sensors, we're using this SQLite in drones, we're using in so many medical equipment applications, we're using in with Internet of Things. When we say we are using in Internet of Things, then it's a very huge domain where we are using. We are using for so many different smart applications. We're using this for the smart homes. We're using for smart agriculture. We're using for smart security systems. We're using for smart cities. So you can see that's why we mentioned that this is being used, and this has a share more than 70% of our applications where we are using SQLite database. What is the core reason? The core main important point or more reason is that this is the lightweight. Why we are saying again and again the lightweight? Like you're using your Android Studio. You're using your Android Studio, you know that how many resources it requires since so many weeks. You're running Android Studio and doing your applications. Are you able to install your Android software on your cell phone? Are you able to install the software for the .NET framework on your cell phone? Are you able to install any of the other software for the developing at your mobile? We cannot. Even though we have a good amount of memory, even though we have a good amount of processor, but they are not capable because of the resource constraints. So the most importantly, because of the lightweight, it is specifically designed for Android applications. This is the most important point. And you can see its importance that how many places, many venues where we are using these applications. And we will be using in our class as well, in our programs as well. And we are already in the cell phones what we are having, what we are using already. Okay, so I hope that you understand the difference among the SQLite and with the other databases as well. So going ahead, so now here you can see for the other examples of the applications. Okay, so just to show you in a pictorial presentation so you can realize you are using the maps, you are using at the backend SQLite. You are using the calendars, you are using at the backend, which is the SQLite. You are using your pictures and cameras, organizing them, you are using at the backend as the SQLite. So what it means that you may not underestimate that because this is lightweight, because this does not have the client server model, because it does not require the administration, because this cannot be compared with the SQL and Oracle and other databases. So it does not have the performance what we require. No, it has the performance what we require. Whatever the need, because it is specifically designed for the Android applications. We are using the different, okay, we are using those all of the applications so you can see that how it is. So do remember that we will be covering SQLite database, and if we will, the time permits, we will go beyond our module, and I will try to arrange the extra things for you, as you can see that how you can be able to handle the external database as well, like what we coded while we were discussing about the different types of the databases what we can handle. And keep remember that with the Android applications, we can handle any type of database. Either it's SQL, either it is Oracle, either it's network. You already have the examples. I already gave you the examples for that. Either it is the SQLite, either even it is your Excel sheet. We can connect the Excel sheet with our application as well. So there is no limitation, there is no restriction, there is no what we can say that we are not able to. No, we can handle any of the database, not an issue. But why we are focusing for this? Because this is the most popular, most common, most suitable, and specifically designed for the Android applications. So you can see even from this example, it can give you a very clear picture that how much it is important. Okay. Now going ahead, now we know that it is done. We already talked about so many features and so many things. Now the time is to go a bit more technical to understand that what things we are required to be, and then the time will be that we can go with the hands-on to see that how actually it is working. So as you remember that we said that this is using the C. It is written in the C programming language, and by the way, we always call the C as the mother of the all programming languages. So while Android applications are we are using primarily using the Java. So now the Android SDK, it includes different classes that how we can manage that gap, and how we can use the over the Java layer. So how we can manage them. So it's very easy, it's very simple. We just require the few of the extra or the additional classes, and they can help us to write and integrate this database with our application. So now we are going to discuss about them, and then we will go for our demonstration. So now, what additional classes we require? Like suppose we were doing our applications previously, a lot of applications we were doing, okay, in your labs, in your sessions. But you notice that we have the class file, Java class file, a 1 or 2 class file, and then we have the manifest file, we have the XML file, we have the design, and we have the code file to make it interactive. That was the part what we were doing. But now when we are reaching to the database, so we have to have the additional classes, additional methods, additional constructors, which may make us enable to run the SQLite database at the backend, and it may make us enable to integrate that with our application. So one of the class from that is the cursor class. So please understand these things now, because we are going a bit more technical now, and that whenever we will be using the SQLite database concept, whenever we apply the database in our application, all the times these are the few classes and methods we are supposed to use. This is compulsory. Without that we cannot go, because they are the one which will help us to create the databases, to move the databases, to access the databases, to update the databases, to delete the databases. We normally call this as the CURD operation, CURD. So how we can create, C is for create, U is for update, and R is for reading the database, and D is for deleting. So how we can create, how we can update, how we can read or view them, or how we can delete. So the CURD operation that cannot be possible without these additional classes. So you need to understand them very well, and you need to understand what methods we are using, why we are using. Then once you will be familiar with this one, then this is the same thing we will be using all the time, and that will be just like a 1, 2, 3 simple for you, as you did in the past of the things. So the cursor class, if you allow me, I can read it for you, because this is something important for you. That the cursor class, it provides specifically and access the result of the database queue. Maybe make it in a simple way for your understanding. The cursor class actually provides us a cursor, a sort of a pointer through which we can read the database in rows. Or why I'm saying in rows, that we can read the database row by row. So cursor is the one which help us to access the database. Now access the database for what? For reading, for writing. If suppose we want to delete something, we need access. If we want to read something, we need access. If we want to insert something, we need an access. So you can see that the cursor is a class which can help us to reach, access the database. So now, after understanding this point, now just go back and read that again. So you can see that's a class which provide specifically to provide an access to the results of a database query. So whatever the query we have, select the static from ABC, update for delete or for reading the current operations for everything, for every query. Cursor is the one who will help us to be there. Okay. For example, a SQL select operation performed on a database will potentially run multiple matching rows from the database. So a cursor instance can used to step through these results. So we can access with the help of the cursor. So in other words, in simple words, again, for your easy understanding, you can see, you can understand in a simplest way that cursor is the way through which we can access the database for any sort of operation, for reading, for deleting, for updation, for anything inside the table. So I hope it is clear and simple, but there are the few more details about the cursor we need to understand. So now you can see from here that these are the different methods in the cursor class. Close method, get count method, move to first, move to last, move to next, move and get, and then provided a type. So many different types. Maybe get a string, maybe get float, maybe get double, maybe get short, maybe get integer. So what these methods are, how they help us, because the cursor class, as we discussed, that it helps us for what? For accessing the database. So how it will access? So it will access, it can provide us access to read the from database, and it can provide us access to close the database, and it can provide us access that it can count the database at how many rows are there, how it can read from from the first or from the last or from the center, how it can read the one record and then can go to the second one. Okay, so you remember that SQLite is the flat file system database. So the cursor is the one which helps us. So you can see for each of the method, the description is given there. Like suppose if we say move to the last, so you can see move to the last row in the result set. So I'm not going in the description because it's very simple. So you can see that these are all other methods which we will be using time to time, all the time. So without cursor class, we cannot access the database if we are using the SQLite in that way. That's why it is important. So you need to understand, and this is only one-time understanding, and then whatever the application we will be using, so you will be knowing that how it is and how we can be. Now going ahead, another thing that is the after the cursor class, there is the SQLite database class. Okay, cursor is for what there? Cursor is for there to access that. Access what? To database. Access what? To the tables. But where is the table? Where is the database? For that, what class we need? That is the SQLite database class. So this class provides us the primary interfaces between the application and the code underlying SQLite databases. So this SQLite database actually provide us what? Very clearly that it provides us the interface between the application code and underlying SQLite database. What it mean by the application code? What it mean by the interface, you understand what it mean by the interface. But what it mean by the application code? It means that it will provide us the interface between the database and between our main activity class, between our Java class. So this is actually the interface. Okay, and what else it is doing? Code and underlying the SQLite database, including the ability to create, to delete, to execute SQL query, to execute SQL drag queries. So all of the SQL queries, DBs, and all of the inserting operation, all of the deleting operations, all of the related things which are related to the SQL, those all supports will be available from this class. The same if we just go back, so you can see from here in the cursor class that these all are the methods which can help us for closing, for moving, first or last or next or whatever it is, or getting information or getting count. In the same way, we have SQLite database which can help us related to the database for all, for inserting, deleting, executing SQL and RAG queries and everything. I hope you understand the point. But the game is not over. Not over what it means that they are not only the two classes, not only the cursor class, not only the SQLite database class, but there is one more important class as well. That is still waiting. Okay, that it is still required. So you can see that these extra classes we require when we are planning to go with the SQLite. So now what is that? That is the SQLite Open Helper class. This is the most important, and it contains the different methods. The two of the methods are on create and on upgrade. They are truly highly important for us. So the SQLite Open Helper class, that is actually, as you can see from its name, its job, its primary job is the same like helper. So it's a helper class designed for what? To make you easier to create and update the database. So it is important. So now you can see that these are the three things. One is the cursor class, and the other one is the SQLite database class, and other one is the Open Helper class. And this is the most important class. And it contains the two of the methods. One is the on create and one is the on upgrade. On create means the first time while you are creating your database. On upgrade, it means that the database is already there. Now you're going to upgrade. What it mean by upgrade? Don't misunderstood this upgrade with the normal upgrade. Because keep in mind that the SQL database, whenever you run your application, all the time it overwrites the old values. Means whenever you run it, so it actually overwrite the old values and also then it goes for the new values. So that is on upgrade. So you can see from here a helper class designed to make it easier to create and update the database. This class must be the subclass within the code of application seeking database access. So they have the two of the most important methods. One is the on create, which call when the database is created the first time, as I already mentioned to you. And that means pass the different argument to the SQL database class, SQLite database. It can initialize your database, it can initialize your tables. Not to be worried at how it is, because after this we will run the program, go for the demo, so we see that how it is and where it is. Okay, so these are the two of the most important methods in the SQLite helper class. Okay, going ahead, now you can see there are the few more important points in the SQLite Open Helper. So we use normally three classes: SQLite Open Helper, SQLite Database, and the cursor class. Cursor is for interaction, okay, which can help us for reading and writing and everything. SQLite Database, as you can see from its name, that which is for the database itself, and Open Helper, it can help us, okay, it provides us help on create, on upgrade, and destroy, and also it can help us to make our existing database as the gettable, as the writable, as the readable, and as we can do the operationable. So you can see from here, in addition to the above mandatory callback methods, so this is on open method, call when data is open. So when we open the data, okay, then we have the different methods which we use. Say, for example, the get writable database. So if we call this method, then we will be able to write inside the database. Otherwise, we will not have the privileges to write inside the database. And when we use the get readable database, so it means whatever the values are there, we can be able to read those information from there. And the close, that what you already know, that the close is actually when we are closing the database. So this is how, and this is how this is important to understand that how these things are. Now, when we talk about the these three things, okay, which are the very important one. I repeat, cursor class, SQL database class, and SQL helper class. Now there are a few other things. Among those, the one which is important, which is about the content value class. Now what the content value class is, what it is doing. Content value class is actually holding the parameters like suppose for the column names, column values. Okay, these all things we can pass them. They work in a key value pattern. So you can see from here that the content value class, actually the content value is the convenience class that allows the key values pairs to be declared, consisting in the table column identifier and the values stored in each column. How many columns will be, what will be the column values, how we can pass the values. So these are the content value. So it's simple, like suppose we are passing the content, so this is the name, also the content value. So not to be worried about that. This class is of the particular use of inserting and updating of the database, because this is linked with the column names and the values. What value we have? Say for example, we have the ID and the name of the student. So when we pass a name of the student to store that one, so what we will use that is known. Say for example, we are entering Zaman. So Zaman is the content value. How we will be able to insert that value? We need to use the SQL SQLite helper class. We need to make it writable database. Otherwise, we cannot write it. And how we reach there? If suppose there is no database, so SQLite database is there, which create the database for us. And how we can reach to that particular line or the place, we need the cursor class, which can help us to reach at the particular point. So I hope you understand from this how and they are different from each other, and how they are simple, and how they are integrate with each other to help us to insert the values inside the database. Now going ahead, so I hope that now you understand it how they are interlinked with each other as well. Like for the cursor class, for the SQLite database, SQLite helper, and also for the content values. I hope that you are ready to go. So now we can go for the demonstration. But before we go for the demonstration, we will go for your attendance first, because you know that the system will not allow if we are in the last 15 minutes or 10 minutes. So it's better to go for the attendance first, and then we will go for the demo. So here we go. So be ready. You can make your machines ready. If we see that if we have ample time, we can start right like what we do all the time. Otherwise, I will show you the demo and review the demo so you can understand it how these things are working. So in today's demo, we will have a basic demo to see that how these things are working, and to understand and to see that what we discussed about all of them, about Open SQL database, about what we discussed for the Open Helper, SQLite Helper class, SQL database, about the cursor, about the content values, about each and everything. So we need to understand them very well, and then we will be able to start. So this is the gear up class for the database. So if you will be done with this one, it will be very easy for you. And I already prepared a demo for you, which is containing all of the comments, so you can be easily able to understand for you. So then once you are done with this one, you understand the primary concept and the simple one, then we will go for something which is a bit more advanced, where we can do all of the operations, where we can do the insert, delete, and everything, because the database applications, these all 4 operations are only important. All of your applications, if you just focus on that, so you will see that everything is means only there. So now in the part number 2, there will be no discussion there, but there will be only hands-on practice like what we have today, but that is only the means one part is the hands-on and the one part is about the explanation. But explanation regarding to the SQLite is over. Everything is done. So now only the hands-on part is remaining. So be ready. Make yourself ready. Make yourself applications, the gadgets ready, so as we can go for your attendance. So here we go. So I may stop sharing from this one, and I can share with you the screen. So here we go. Just a 1 minute. So I just stop sharing this screen, as we can go for the attendance first. Yes, here we go. So please confirm that you are able to have the screen.
Yes, sir, we can see.
That's great. That's great. So be ready. Here we go. Here is okay, because this was just for the previous class. We just finished now. So here we go. Here is the code EC977T. So what I do, I can copy and paste for you as well for your ease. So here we go, and we can paste it here. Yes, the same code is in the window as well. Take 5 minutes to finish the attendance. That's going good. Very good. Only the few are left. Yes. Anyone left? 22 are left, student. Yes, please finish your attendance as soon as possible. Yeah. 29 is done and 31 are there. Okay. Meanwhile, the window will be open for your attendance, and here we can go to show you the demo. So be with me, please. Maybe I can stop sharing this screen and can continue the whole desktop, so you can be able to see for that. Okay, so the entire screen. So please confirm, are you able to see the screen?
Yes, sir.
That's great. Thank you very much. So now here we go about a demo session. So we can start from here. This is my SQL application. So we can run the application. We just try to wait for a moment to be loaded. And here is our emulator. I just switch it, keep it on, all these things as we can save the time. So now here we go. We'll explain to you about all of the things with the each and every information is there. But before that, you can see from here that now today this is the database open helper. This is the main activity.java, and this is activity XML. This is what we have previously, and this is just only for the shape. So not to be worried about this. We already used for that one. Anyhow, we just need to run the application now. Here we go. We just run application, and we're waiting for that. It's very simple application. Just to give you the idea that how we can handle the SQLite, and then we will be able to see in the next class to use the all of operations for inserting, deleting, and the rest of the part. Okay, Gradle build is done. 0, it is successful. Waiting for the interface. So you can see from here that this is the simple application. We can say that enter your text here. So say for example, we can write anything. For example, I'm writing my name, Noor, and then I'm saying okay, just to add. So we can see that it should be added information. So we just go back and see, yes, this is Noor is there. So now we just try to add something else. For example, we are trying to add the Android. Here is the Android. So now when we say add, we can see the data inserted. So you can see from here the message when we enter something. So a message appear for a very short amount of period. That is actually the concept about the toast. The toast is actually help us to give a short message that your information is added. Now we just want to see, let's see, this is Android is added. Now we can see the last value. So we can call the last, say for example, the last value. So here we go, the last, and then we just replace, I just keep it down. As you can see, please focus here at this screen that you will be able to see a message. That message will be generated using the toast, and that I will explain to you in the code as well. The moment I will press the add, you will see the message here. That will be appear for a short time and then disappear. So you can see from here, data inserted. This appeared and now this disappeared. And then you can see that this is the value here. Okay. Now we can go quickly to explain to you. Then also I can provide you the code. There is no issue. But because if we will start writing, maybe we will not be able to finish it up. So as I mentioned, weeks that probably at the later we may require to explain the things. Anyhow, no worries, we can start from here. So you can see in the design. So this is the design. So you can see from here that we have the editable text value here. Then we have one of the button, and then we have one of the list view here. So whatever the value we store here in the editable text, when we press the button, it makes us enable to get that value done and enter that value inside the list. That's what you just noticed the demo. So you can see that we have the different controls. I will just go very slowly as you can understand it clearly, and later I can upload the code for you as well, so you can be easily can be easily for you to understand. And this video is also recorded, so you can see everything, so that will be helpful for you, so you can do the practice. So you can see from here that we are using the linear layout, and we are using these three controls. Number one is the editable text. Which one is this one? We can see from here when we select, this is the editable text. Number two is the button, which is the here. Number three is the list view, which appears here. Now we can go back to the split part to see that what means any additional changes we have done, we have made. So you remember that all the time we are using the linear layout. So this is the linear layout. And what are the extra changes we made? Nothing, only the simple. Here we can add, means in its default value, these three values we change. We try to make the Android orientation in vertical, and we add the padding for the 20 points, and also we means keep its gravity in the center. So these are the only values what we made the changes. Then when we come to the editable text, so you can see when we click here, it automatically select to the editable text here. In this editable text, so you can see that what is we are going to do here. So only the ID, which we provide all the time, the ID for this one is the et_text, and enter text here, this is the hint. So you remember when we run the application, we are able to see here, this is the hint text, enter text please. So whatever the text what we means wrote inside as a hint, that will be appearing as means the text, helping text for the user. So this is enter text please, is actually this one is the line what we mentioned here. Okay, so now what is the else? We just provided the lines and how many lines it could be, and then we set the gravity for this one, and also we added this drawable BG round shape. So for this, for drawable BG round shape, when you will start adding this one, it will show you the red line, because for this is something new. It is not available inside your means folder. You remember, inside your resource folder, inside your layout folder, and when we go for the drawable folder, so you will notice that this is not before available. So you can just right click, or you can go from here, right click, what we did in our previous classes, to add the new resources. And once you come here, so you just need to change that one into the shape, and these values, whatever values you want to pass, you can pass. We just pass these values just to show it in a cylindrical way and with the highlighted color to make it more beautiful. So you can notice from here when we are running this application, so this is in cylindrical color highlighted with blue, and it appears very clear and very different from the other text. So that is what we did here. So you can see from here, we say that the Android shape is rectangle. So that is the rectangle. You can see from here, that is the rectangle shape. And then we mentioned that the color is the transparent, and what is the means DP, Android DP for the corners is the 10 DP, and what is the Android stroke color? So we just say that the blue bright. So you can notice here that this color is the blue bright. So you can keep any color. You can set the thickness of this one. You can set the means angle size from this one. This is up to you. I'm just trying to explain you so you can understand. And then we say what could be the width of this line, that is the 3dp. So you can make it thick or the smoother. This is up to you, that how you wish to. So once you create this information for this file, which is the bg round, what we mentioned here in this as a bg round, so after that once you done with this one, then automatically this will become changed into the green. It will be red first because that file doesn't exist, but then you can create and then it will be okay. So this is the same thing we did in our previous classes as well. So not to be worried, nothing is new. So it's very easy. Okay, then we go for the button. For the button, you notice here the rest of the things are the simple and the same, nothing else, but only the one thing which is different, like suppose ID is the same, and right hint or text is the same, and layout margin from the top is the same, everything is same. What it is only that we try to change the Android late width, which is the wrap in the content, and also the height we kept it wrap in the content. So you need to see that why we did this one. Why we did this one? Because we are using the list view here. So for that we try to use this one. So that's why you can see in the list view we set both match with parent. Normally you notice here that these both values are match with parent and these both values are linked with the wrap content. So normally you remember that the one we use as wrap and content and the other one match with parent, but in this is a bit different. Why? Because of the list view, so it can have a sufficient space so we can call it and we can see it. Now what is the next? The other values, they are simple as what we already used, so we are not going in a more detail for that one. Now you can see for the list view. So while we are saying it's a list view, that's why you can see from here that this is the list view. Okay, and that's why you can notice from here as well that it is a list view. Whatever the items we are adding, it shows in the list. So that's why we use this control, which is the list view. So simple, nothing we make any changes, only we provide the ID and only the something which is different from the previous one that we use for the height and width for both of them match with the parent. If we don't use like this, then it will be in between and center, the shape will not be good. So you can try that and you can see, and then we just set the top margin, that how much it is away from the top, it is the 10 dp. So I hope that you understand the whole design, and you can see the design again how it looks like. So this is the design, and these are the only simple controls what we used. Now the most importantly where we are supposed to go, that is the main activity file. But when we reach to the main activity file, so you can start writing your code in your main activity. So I will know, because I was knowing that today when we will start explaining the things about the SQLite, then we may not have a time to start writing the code. So that's why I try to add all of the comments. So you can see for each of the line, there are the comments are added here, so they can help you to understand. Okay, but how you will start writing? You cannot start writing the code just to start here and you start doing everything. No, so there is way. So I will let you know how. So you can see from here we are just initializing the variable, the same concept as what we are doing. We have the three variables, as you remember already. We are only using the three things, 1 and 2 and 3. So here are the three things. One is the edit text, one is the button, and other one is the list view. So all of them we initialize the variable for them, and you know that why we initialize them, because when we want to use them inside the code. Then you can come here and then you can see from here database helper. So now we created initialize that one, the database helper, and then we also initialize the array list and the array adapter. What is the array list and array adapter? Array list, it means that whatever the values we are having, we are trying to store those values based on array. And array adapter is the one which help us to interact with the array list. So this list is, we are dealing as the array list. So you know, an array, we have the indexes, we have the values. So we are dealing with the help of the array adapter, which can help us to deal for this one. Now going back, now after this, if you write up to this, then you will be able to see that there are the some sort of the errors. So what you need to do, when you even write the database helper, you call this one. So there is no database helper class before. So the moment you will write here, you will see the sign like this one here. Okay, you just need to click that sign and it will ask you to create the database helper class. So you can go to create the database helper class, or you can go back to create a Java class, a new Java class, which is the database helper class. You can use any way like what we did previously as well. So now before we come here, before we go down, so you can see from here that here we just means assign the variables. The same thing, nothing new here, that whatever the variables we means create here, initialize them. And after that, so this is the e text. You can see this is means highlighted here, and et text, and this is the bt id, and this is the list view. So we need to find them by ID. Okay, so assign the variable. So you can see find view by ID. So we did that for all of them. That's what we do normally for all of the controls what we done previously. So once we are done with this one, so you can see now here we go in our database open helper class. So now this is the important class which contain all of the information. Okay, so now recall the concept are the points what we discussed about the cursor, about the open helper, about the database SQL database class, about everything. So see from here, here we are writing the database helper, and then we are here database helper class. So see from here, when this class we will create database helper, it need to extend the SQLite open helper class. Okay, because all of the methods and these things we will be going to take from there, inherit from there. Now this is simple as well, not to be worried. I will try to go back again and again what the concepts we discuss in our theory part, so you can see that what they are and how they are interlinked with each other. Okay, just to make your things pretty clear, just only one time you are clear, everything is simple for you, then you can be going quickly for your databases, any type of database, for any type of the database application, wherever you will use SQLite, these will be the primary steps, they will be same. Okay, so that's why it's important to understand the things in a very appropriate way for the first time, as you may not face any sort of the problem later on. So now before you just means you will come here, so you see that this will be declared as a public class database helper, then you need to means extend it, you can write it with the SQLite open helper. Now you can see that these packages are automatically import. We are not supposed to do. The moment you will start writing the code, automatically it will come, but I'm just trying to explain you the few things. So you can see from here that here you can see the content values there, the context is there, the cursor is there, the SQLite database is there, and SQLite open helper is there. Now recall that what we discussed about all of these things in our theory part. Okay, so recall and remap with them. Okay, so be clear. The most important point is that you need to be clear, your concept should be clear about that. Okay, going ahead, so now we can start from the first line. So you can see again provided the means comments here. So here what we are doing, we are initializing the database name and the table name, because this is a SQLite is a open file based database system. And now this is actually you are going to create, you are going to initialize the database name and table, because whenever you go for a database, so always you have to have the database, and inside the database you can means keep your table. So that's what we are doing here. You can see from here that here we are means nominating our database name, which is the database name, and table name, which is the table name. Make sure about that which one will be in the lowercase and which one will be in the uppercase. So be careful about that. Then once we initialize the database name and table name, so this is the database name. Okay, you can see this is the database name and this is the table name. So we just initialize both of them. After that, we are coming to the database helper context. So you remember the context is here. So you remember we discussed about these things. So now in this, you can write The context what it will do, it will means take your database name, whatever the database you are creating, and the next value is null. We don't require anything, but version is one. In SQLite, we always, if suppose we upgrade our database, so we upgrade with the version 1, version 2, version 3, like that. You remember that whenever we have the applications on the Google Play Store, any new update is coming. So how the new update is coming? So they are, once they upgrade update, so they change the version number. So if the version number is changed, then the user will be automatically notified that the new updated version is there. So then we receive the notifications, and then we can go based on our choice to upgrade it or not. So version number is very important. Okay, you need to understand. So because we are creating now, so we just kept it version number 1. You can keep it version number 2, no restriction about that, but this is how the concept that you need to understand, that version number is representing to what. Sorry. So you remember that we mentioned there that there are the two methods there. If you allow me, I can take you, because it's the complete desktop with you, so I can take you back, so you can see from here that these are the two methods in the SQLite helper. One is on create and one is on upgrade. So coming back here, you can see from here that this is how the on create and this is how the on upgrade. So we need to, because these both are important for us. So now in on create, as we discussed, that we are creating the table. So you can see from here, here we are creating a table. Here is our query. So string create a table. So you can see for create table, and then we are providing a table name using the table name. And here is our actual query, ID, integer, primary key, and then it will be into the text, txt text format. Primary key we are defining, ID is the column name, and this is the type of it. Okay, so you need to be careful about the query while you will be writing the query. If your query will be means not correct, then your table will not be created, your database will not be created, then you will not be able to run that one. So this is the query what we are creating, and then after having the query, we run the query now in a different way in SQLite. So you can see from here, we run that one. This is the SQLite DB on create. So you can see what's the DB here. So you can use the DB. So this DB dot execute SQL query. Which query we want to run? The query what we assign here. So here is the create table. This query is the whole query is assigned to this one. So now we wanna run that query. So when the query will be run, so whatever the action will be required, that action will be done for that particular part. That is normally we required on create, as I showed to you in our lecture. Now the second method is important as well, which is on the on upgrade. So you can see on this on upgrade, see here when we have on create, so this is only the SQLite database. While we have the on upgrade, so you can see here, this is not only SQLite database DB, but it is the version as well, that the older version and newer version. So what it means that whenever we write the application, whenever we run, so it is actually overwriting that one. Okay, so this is for the on upgrade. So you can see from here, mention in the comments clearly as well for your better understanding, that they drop the older table if exists. So you can see from here, DB execute SQL. So this is the same thing what we are doing here. It's very simple, not to be worried about that. So you remember here we run the query. So in this method, what we do, we need to drop the table. And then what we need to do, we need to run on create. Okay, so we can call on create, so we can do again. So it means we are overwriting again and again, because it is a file-based database system. So all the time whenever we are going, we are overwriting it. And you understand, I hope you understand about the version number as well. Very simple. I'm trying to explain all of the points as you can be clear from your concept, which is the most important at this stage. And after that, you can be able to write any type of the databases. There will be no issue. So now you can see from here. Now going back if you remember that we discussed about a few more things, that is about the readable and writable things. So you remember get writable and get readable. So now you can see we are coming back here, that you can see from here that we are going to means add the text. So while we are going to add the text, we need to the get writable database. So until it is not writable, we cannot write it. We don't have the permissions. So for that, you can see that SQLite database, because what we need to make the writable, that's the database. So there it is, this dot get writable database. So whatever the database we have means we created. So that one we are trying to means make it writable. So once it will be writable, then we will be only able to add the text. So now when we are able to add the text, so how we can add the text? Remember, I told you that whenever we want to add the text, we need to go with the content values. And what are the content values? The content values are the column names, are the values what we are passing. Okay, so that's why you can see now when we make it the writable, now we need to pass the values, so we have to have the values as well. So that's why we need to create the content value. So you can see from here, now we are saying content value. Okay, so in a content value, we are saying that what we are passing in the content values, we are putting the text, the exe text, that whatever it is, we are just going to pass the text values. So once this is the type of value what we are passing, but then now we want to add the values, those values in the database. So we define, we want to add, we want to make it get writable first, how we can pass a value using the content value, what will be the type of value that will be in text. Now we are ready to insert that value inside the database. So you can see from every point that it is very much clearly explained, and also the comments are given there as you can understand it well. So now you can see from here that now in SQLite database, now we come to the insert. So insert in a table name, okay, and then the second parameter null, we are just trying to insert the values. So what the values we are going to insert? The content value. Whatever content value, that is the text. Whatever the value we will pass, now our database is means writable. So that's why we will be able to whatever the pass the value we can. So you can see from here, so it is means writable. That's why whatever the value we pass, these are the content values, then it can means inserted to the databases here. Okay, now you can see then once they are done, then we say return true. So it means that the row can be inserted, the values can be shown. But how it can be shown? So that we can go ahead with the second part. I hope that you are able to understand from this part. It's easy. You understand what we are doing in on create method. You understand what we are doing in on upgrade method. You are understand that what is the open database helper and what is the version, and you understand it how and why we are initializing the database. Truly simple, very simple, step by step. You will always use this method. You will always use this one. You will always need to initialize the database, and you will always use the database context value. So this will be always whenever you will be using. So only the one time you are understand means you can do it. You can understand the things well. Then everything will be simple and at your hands on. Okay, anyhow, going ahead. So now you know that what is the writable, readable, and everything, and what is the context, and what is uh, everything. But you notice that we didn't talk about the cursor yet, and you know that the cursor through cursor we can access the values. So now going ahead, okay, and we are trying to compare with our lecture that whatever we discussed there. So you can see from here in this we can see now we are defining a means array list, okay, which can get all the text. So now get the readable database. So what we are doing this one, we are making it readable. Here previously we make it writable. So now we are making it readable. So SQLite database. So this dot get readable. So this is same 100%. You can see this one and you can see this one. Okay, this only get writable, and here we are saying this only readable. Then the array list means which has the type of a string, and then we just initialize it, and then we are creating a cursor select all values. So now see here we need a cursor. Without cursor, we cannot count values, we cannot read values, we cannot go inside, we cannot. So you can see from here, whenever it's readable comes, so now the cursor is there. So here is the cursor, okay, and the cursor, what it will do, it will go to the means SQL database, and we run the raw query. So the query, you remember when we talk about the cursor, so you can see from here that when we talk about the cursor, one more back, so you can see that this is the cursor. This can help us to perform the operations, to read from inside the values and how many methods they are, so we can use them. So the same thing, sorry, so the same thing we are using here now. So now you can see from here the cursor, the raw query, because the cursor is the one only which can fetch the query for us. So you can see select a static from the table name, and we just pass nothing because we are just reading, we're not doing anything. So now the cursor means, okay, this is only, you can delete it, only the comment. So the cursor, you can see the now the cursor that moved to the first. So it can go to the from the first value to start reading, and then we apply the loop in case whatever the values are there. So it can read fast and cursor can move to the next, and in the resulting it can return us the array list. So whatever the list we are able to see from here, this is how we are getting it from the database with the help of the cursor, and this is showing there due to the array list. So I hope you understand, and it is truly simple. These are the additional things what we require. But now it's not over, not done, because we didn't discuss, we didn't fetch these things in our Java file, in our code file, in our main activity. So now we are going back to the main activity. So you can see that how and what we are discussing in the main activity. So you remember up to this, we already discussed, that is the simple thing, what we do. Now the main thing starts from here. Here we need to initialize the database helper. You remember, database helper is actually providing us the interface. Remember the words what we discussed in our lecture. So we are initializing this one. So database helper, we are initializing to means making as an interface with home main activity with this one. Where is the open helper? So you already noticed this, all information is here. Okay, so everything now is here. So we are going to making the values and interact with this one. Now add the database values to the array list. So we are trying to add the values in the array list. So you can see array list, how we can do database helper, and that then get all text. Then we are initializing the array adapter, because at the array we cannot handle it directly. So you can see that we initialize the array adapter for this activity, and then we are taking the simple item numbers and we are just adding, we will be adding them in the list. So you can see from here, set array adapter to the list. So here is the list view, and we set the adapter in the further list. Now here is the button, because when you do all of the things, when we press the button, then the value can go to the database and how it can appear. So this is the btn add. You remember, here you can go, this is the button, we can create here button, and the list view is there. So normally what we did previously and what we are doing always, so we just call this set on click listener for that one. So inside the on click listener, we can see here that we text from the edit text. So what it means by the edit text, it means this is the edit text. So we need to get this text, and then we need to enter the text inside the list view, and also at the end we need to show or appear those values from with the help of the list view. But at the moment we want to take this value from here and to add those values in the database. So you can see from here now where we reaches here. So in the means on click listener, we are trying to get the text from the edit text. So how we can, so this is the string text, et text. Now you remember to get text to a string. So this is simple, nothing is important here. And if suppose the text is empty, then how we can do that and how we can make it clear. And when we enter the value, when we get the value, so after that we can means make the clear to the previous value. So you can see from here, this is means no information here is here. I'm saying suppose we, and when I press this add, so you can see that we are making it clear, and that value goes here, the v goes here. So that's what here, that after entering we are making the clear edit text, so you can see etext.setText as clear. So this there is no value, it means it's empty, it will be clear. Now you remember that I told you that we always appear a toast value here. So you can see from here, wow, we can write any text, any entry, any value. So when we write this one, I just minimize this one, and see, please notice at this particular area where the mouse pointer is. So when we press this, so you see data inserted and it disappear. So now this is we are doing with the help of the toast. The toast is like always that it can means guide to the user, and its duration we can control. Either we can keep it short time, long time, we can control this one. But here we just make its length as a short, because just to confirm that the value is entered, so user may not be worried about that. So this is a toast. So you can see from here the toast on make text, and then this is the context what we are passing, what the means custom message we want to give to the customer. So this is the data inserted. That is the same message you were able to see. And how long it may be appear, the length is short. So that's why you can see that it is appear only for a short time. You can make the length as a long, then it will be appear, it will disappear, always disappear, it must disappear, because that is the toast. The toast is just only for temporary, it appears and disappear, then only it called the toast. But with the duration, how long it can be appear or disappear, that we can control. So you can see from here it's for a short, that's why it disappear quickly. So you can see that then we are, it means appearing, showing the information to the users, that's why we put the show. So now the clear array, once it is done, so we can means make the array list clear. So this is only simply we are making it clear, and we are using the means list to make it clear, and after that we can refresh the list view. So if you wish, you can means go to change that one, and you can refresh the list, and you can refresh the drawable data set as well. So now you can see this is all about your SQL database. Okay, it's simple, it's not hard, and I explained to you line by line. Even you can try to means go through with this video, and you can see that how you can be able to make this one. This is everything is explained to you, so maybe I not better not to upload the code, and you just go through with this one. I try to come up with a very simple concept, as you can understand all of the concepts that what we discussed, that actually what are the cursors, what are their methods, what is the SQL database class, what is the SQLite helper class, and what are their other methods, and how we use them. So try to make everything clear, and you can see that what the relation they have, how we are interfacing, and how we are doing. So all of your databases will be going like this way. So in today's case, we just handle from the CRUD operation the insert and reading, but we can update and delete, so that we will be having a good application. That will be the demonstration in our next class. So wish you all best of luck. I hope you understand the things very well. I tried my level best to means provide you all of the aspects to be clear, because this is the most important. As a being a first means lecture for the database, it is very important. If you understand, then everything will be just like a piece of cake for you. So thank you very much for your time, and I hope you understand the things well. So now we are done with our lecture. We can stop it here. If suppose you have any question, you are most welcome. Otherwise, you are free to move, and see you in the next class. Thank you very much. Here is the important